Hi, welcome. That's something to talk about. My name is Taco, and I'm here to talk about the difference with you with a little character. Well, not really little. He's kind of big. Size-wise, he's a big dude. Shaga, son of Dolf. If you don't know what's going on here, I'm going to compare the show version of Shaga, son of Dolf from the Game of Thrones TV show that I've heard so much about, and the A Song of Ice and Fire book series. I'm kidding. I've watched it. So this is what's going on if you don't know. Definitely spoilers for the books and definitely for the show. And yeah, if you don't know what's going on, you should have paused that and read it, but kind of do all this in one take. I just kind of rant and rave at the camera until I'm done with all my cards. So if that's not something that you're into, that's cool, man. Peace. All right. Shagga, son of Dolf. So I'm going to cover the Stone Crows and kind of the mountain clans in general, because he doesn't have a house, so we're going to cover the Stone Crows. And then the show version in 2 slides, and then a bunch of slides for the book version because there's a lot to cover here. So, yeah, let's just do it. The Stone Crows. The mountain clans or hill tribes are a culture divided into clans of various size and strength who live in the foothills of the Mountains of the Moon. In the Vale of Arryn, descendants of the first men, they are considered primitive by lowlanders. That's what they call people who are not mountain men. Mountains men. No, not mountains men. Mountain clansmen. There we go. They call other people lowlanders. The Vale's clans are sometimes called wildlings, like the free folk who live beyond the wall, but they should not, which they're not beyond the wall, but they are sometimes called wildlings, and they should not be confused with the northern mountain clans who are more respected and whose clan chiefs are sometimes regarded as more like petty lords. Yeah, I don't know if they're any less primitive than the Vale mountain clans, but the northern mountain clans are definitely treated with a lot more respect. Stannis goes and treats with them, so like a king goes and treats with them. Ned goes and treats with them multiple times. They're a lot more highly regarded and not just like treated like savage wildlings like the ones in the Vale are, but we're talking about the ones in the Vale. The Stone Crows are one of the mountain clans who inhabit the Mountains of the Moon in the Vale of Arryn. In 97 AC, the Stone Crows killed the father and brothers of Jane Arryn, leaving her to become the Lady of the Eyrie. And that's like right before the Dance of Dragons. Well, a while before, but that's why she's the lady in the Vale during the dance. And yeah, that kind of happens a lot. If you look at like the Arryn family tree on like the wiki, you just see a lot of like, this guy murdered by mountain clans. This guy murdered by mountain clans. Like they get a lot of good kills. We will talk about who this amazing art is of once we get to the books. But yeah, I really like that picture, so I had to squeeze it in. It's not of Shaga, it's somebody else. So yeah, let's get to the show version. Shagga, son of Dolf. In the television adaptation, Shaga is portrayed by Mark Lewis Jones. Shagga, son of Dolf, is the leader of the Stone Crows and one of the hill tribes who live in the foothills of the Mountains of the Moon. And on the western border of the Vale, he is a notable warrior and holds fealty to no lord. So yeah, he's kind of like his own man, which you kind of all these guys don't really hold fealty to any lord except for the clan's guy in charge of the clan, I guess. I don't know, but seemed important. Shaga leads a party of tribesmen to which finds Tyrion and Bronn traveling out of the Vale into the Riverlands. If you don't remember where this is in the story, so this is after Tyrion gets taken captive by Catelyn, and then it gets presented to Lysa Arryn up at the Vale, and they do she says, "You murdered everybody," and he's like, "I don't remember doing any of that," right? And eventually does a trial by combat, which Bronn wins for him, and then him and Bronn get to just walk out of the Vale by themselves on the high road, which is a little sketchy, but that's the way they go. So Shaga approaches them. So they're like eating goat and they see all these like guys coming out of the woods, right? And then Shaga says, "When you meet your gods, you tell them Shagga, son of Dolf of the Stone Crows, sent you." And Tyrion says that he is Tyrion, son of Tywin of Clan Lannister. Shaga asks how he would like to die, and Tyrion says, "In my own bed at age of 80 with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth wrapped around my blah blah." Am I allowed to say that? There's a lot of talk of male members in this video. I should probably have said that because Shaga likes to talk about them a lot. But Tyrion does it first. But yeah, I do censor him as much as I can. But yeah, it's a lot of talk of tallywhackers in this episode. They laugh, and Shaga says that he's take the half man to dance for the children and then kill the rest, meaning Bronn, in hopes of stopping them and having them escort Tyrion out of the mountains. Tyrion offers them a bunch of gold and weapons and rings and stuff. And then finally just the Veil of Aaron itself. He's like, "I don't know, just give you this." And then Shaga's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "The veil." So Shaga agrees to the alliance and escorts Tyrion to the Lannister army that are camped in the Riverlands. The force is led by Tyrion's father, and they are joined by Timett of the Birdmen, Chella of the Black Ears along the way. They are also clansmen from the Moon Brothers and Painted Dogs in their group. Painted Dogs! Yeah. Let's keep going. Show, Half Man. Tyrion introduces them to his father, Tywin. Starting with Shagga, son of Dolf, Tywin accepts the allegiance, and Shagga's insistence that they fight alongside Tyrion on the battlefield. Yeah, Shagga's like, "Hey, we're only going to fight for you if Tyrion is with us." And Tywin's like, "Yeah, that works." I don't care about my son's life. So Tyrion reports to his father that his uncle while at the camp, and a Moon Brother stabbed a stone crow over a sausage, at which the Moon Brother was set upon by 3 stone crows who opened his throat. Wow. Bronn managed to restrain Shaga from cutting off a dead man's genitals, which was unfortunate, is what Tyrion says. But Ulf of the Moon Brothers demanded blood money from the Stone Crows, which Shaga and Gunther refused to pay. Hey, there is a mention of Gunther. Tywin criticizes Tyrion for a lack of discipline of his new allies, saying the fault lie with their commander. Yeah, if your men are crappy, that means you're crappy. That's what Tywin says. And as if like Lannister men aren't killing each other over nothing. Like all these, the line between just a normal person of this age and a savage is a very thin line. I'm just saying. All right. Shaga demands 2 axes from the Lannister stores. When Kevin Lannister complains, Tyrion says Shaga likes axes, which is true. Tyrion gives a small speech to the tribesmen, saying that your dominion over the Vale begins now. And Shaga starts the chant, "Half man, half man, half man." Shaga and his men actually fight well at the Battle of the Green Fort and win a convincing victory over their foes. Tyrion fails to join them when he is accidentally knocked unconscious by his own men who rush to the fight. Yeah, Tyrion doesn't actually end up fighting with them. Shaga and his troops join the post-battle looting of the fallen bodies, and that's the last we hear of him. He is in 2 episodes in season 1. I want to say it's up top of my head, but I want to say it's Pointy End and Baelor. And that's it. Those are the only 2 episodes he's in, so he's done, which means we can talk about the book. Shaga, known as Shagga, son of Dolf, because of his father, most likely, is a member of maybe it's his mom is named Dolf. He never says my No, I think he actually does say it's his father at one point. Is a member of the Stone Crows, one of the mountain clans who dwell in the mountains of the moon. Shaga is a massive and a hairy man dressed in skins. He has a deep voice and a loud laugh, as well as a fierce frown. Unwashed, Shaga has a overpowering stench. Shaga fights with a weapon in each hand, and he enjoys strong alcohol. I don't know, man. Shaga's pretty cool. I think I would hang out with Shaga. I think I would. He just seems like the type of dude I would hang out with. Just saying. The book, The High Road. After Tyrion Lannister wins his trial of combat in the Eyrie, so he comes in at the exact same time, right? They camp on the High Road. Bronn wakes him with a warning, and Tyrion motions for Bronn to stay still. Then Tyrion calls for the clansmen to join them. So this is exactly how it happens in the show, to share their goat. I let that up, but that's the same thing. And then a voice that is later revealed to be Shaga says, "Our mountain, our goat." So now it's starting to get different. Tyrion agrees to this and then asks for their names. And then Gunther, son of Gorn, comes forth and says, "When you meet your gods, say it was Gunther, son of Gorn of the Stone Crows, who sent you to them." And he is followed up by Shagga saying, "And Shagga, son of Dolf." So that's who this is. I had to use it because Gunther, son of Gorn, is awesome. And I wanted to use some of his art there. And yeah, so you're already seeing a difference. That is who is leading, is actually Gunther is leading this team, not Shagga. But Shagga does, no one ever says it because I don't think they formally have chains of command in the Mountain Clansmen, but Shagga does kind of come off as second in command, right? Who looked like a boulder becoming a man, which is great because anytime you hear about a giant coming out of stone, it makes you think of Waking the Stone Giants, right? Holding a club in one hand and an axe in the other. Tyrion introduces himself and declares him a member of, quote, Clan Lannister. He offers to pay the clansmen the goat that they already ate, and Gunther, who seems to be their chief, asks what he has to give them, and Tyrion says silver in his purse and armor for Khan, and which is another member. We'll talk about Khan a little bit, and a battle axe for Shaga. Khan replies that Tyrion is going to pay them with their own coin, as in, we're going to kill you and take all that stuff anyways, right? So why are you offering it to us? Like, we already have that. They can take whatever they want off their corpses, right? Like, hey, like, I'm going to kill you and take your wallet. What are you going to give me? And it's like, I'll give you my wallet. I already got your wallet. I'm already going to get that. What can you give me besides that, right? That's kind of what they're getting at here. So Gunther states that they have nothing to give but their lives and asks Tyrion how he would like to die. And Tyrion replies, "In my own bed, with a belly full of wine and a maiden's mouth around my blank, at the age of 80. So almost the same line, but it's a little mixed. Like he says age of 80 first in the show. Yeah. Okay. Shaga laughs, but the others seem unamused. Yeah, only Shaga laughs at that joke in this one. Gunther tells Khan to kill Bronn and to take Tyrion to milk the goats and dance for the children. Bronn springs to his feet, but Tyrion stops them. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get to the differences at the end, but like I said, but it does kind of seem like they've combined this Gunther, son of Gurn, and Shaga into one character for the show, because they give pretty much all of the lines to Shaga in the show. But yeah, just condensing, which is fine. Little Army. Tyrion asks if their weapons are the best they could steal, declaring them good for killing sheep at most. I left a lot of the dialogue out of the show because I wanted to get through the show, but he does this again goes very similar, right? He adds that his father smiths shit better weapons. Shaga asks, little boy man, will you mock my axe after I chop off your manhood and feed it to the goats? See, he loves talking about him. Gunther thinks of the starving women and children in his tribe and is interested and asks what Tyrion will give them for their lives. In addition, Tyrion offers them the Veil of Aaron itself. Yeah, like I said, very similar to the show, except they combined like the three talking characters all into just one Shaga, right? Chella of the Black Ears is the one who locates Tyrion's army, which she deduces, or Tywin's army, which she deduces is about 20,000 men. Tyrion has gathered a force of over 300 mountain clansmen, and Gunther is collecting even more. He wonders what his father would make of his little army, since he is not sure what to make of them himself. Sorry. I'm going to talk about Tyrion a lot because these are all Tyrion chapters, which makes sense. So you pretty much get Tyrion's point of view for all of this. Sorry, I'm like coughing and yawning and a little stuffed up. It's not the morning, but I did get to sleep in today, so I'm a little like still a little groggy. So sorry about that. So Tyrion wants to meet his father without the clansmen, but Ulf expresses distrust of Shaga's and Shaga insists that he goes with the boy man. If he lies, Tyrion will lose his manhood. Like I say, Shaga brings up like pretty much anything that happens. You know, it's like, hey man, I'm gonna change the television. I'm gonna cut off your manhood and feed it to the ghost. Okay. Hey, sorry, I overcooked the steak. I'm gonna. All right, dude. Like, we get it. Do you want to chop it off and feed it to the ghost? Like, get a new thing, Shaga. Like, it's a weird thing. Get a new thing. Tyrion is forced to quickly give in to the commands of his captors / followers. Yeah, he's not sure if he is being held captive by these guys or they are following him. It's a gray line, right? And he picks representatives from each of the clans to accompany him. He asks the remaining clansmen not to try to kill each other while he is gone. Tyrion dislikes having to work with the clan because they think everyone's voice should be heard in the council. Yeah, it's annoying. Everybody gets a voice. Ugh. Finding Tywin's army. So when they arrive at the Garda camp, they are met by a party led by Flemeth Brax, heck yeah, who tells Tyrion that his father has taken the inn at the crossroads as his headquarters. As they pass through many banners, Tyrion notes that the clansmen are in awe. Yeah, wow. Which pleases him, especially Shaga, who has never seen so many men, horses, or weapons, and had a look of astonishment. Yeah, Shaga is like, holy crap, look at this place. Look at all these men. The more impressed they are by the power of House Lannister, the easier they are to control, is what Tyrion thinks, right? So he wants them to be in awe of the army so they don't do anything crazy. When the stable boys take their horses, Shaga is suspicious. Like, why is he trying to take my horse? But Tyrion can convince him. One difference I don't bring up later, and it's like kind of just a difference for the whole show. No one ever is at horses too much, especially in the early seasons. People are just like walking around a lot. Later on, I think they changed that a little bit, but like people just like transverse the entirety of a road and just on their feet. But remember, in the books, the clansmen have horses. Everyone has horses. It's just something weird that they just kind of leave out. And I think it's just, it's probably hard to always film with horses and, it's budget reasons. But yeah, I just find that funny. Where am I here? He's suspicious, but Tyrion convinces him, yeah, let him have his horse. Like, dude, don't worry, just a stable boy. Let him take the horse, Shaga. Tyrion tells the guard captain to get his men meat and then enters the inn. He finds Tywin Lannister is sharing ale with his brother, Kevin Lannister. The Lannisters, all of them, talk about war. So I'm kind of skipping over this whole conversation. It is an important conversation, but like I said, I'm talking about Shaga. I'm not talking about like Tyrion's whole storyline here, even though it seems like I am. So yeah, the door opens with a crash as the captain of the guard flies across the room, and Shaga is telling him that the next time he will chop off his manhood and toss it in the fire. Take a drink every time I say that. He stamps in and followed by other clansmen. Tywin asks who they are, and Tyrion explains that they followed him and that he wants to keep them. The clansman insists that freemen have the right to sit on war councils. Yeah, it's like, no, we're going to sit wherever we want. We're freemen. Once Tyrion has introduced the clansman, he's saying that Shagga looks like Casterly Rock with hair, which is pretty great. He introduces him to his father. Then he introduces his father and all the titles, right? Tywin claims that even the Westerlands have heard of the prowess of the mountain clans and asks what brings them here. Their reply is horses, silk, and steel. Just then, they learn Robb is marching south, and he asks the clansmen to join them. Yeah, so Tywin is like oddly cordial to the like mountain clans. He's like, oh, okay, I've heard how great you guys are. Thank you for joining. Like he knows when to be Tywin Lannister and kind of be a jerk, and he also knows when to like show respect. Tywin's shrewd. People give him a lot of crap, but yeah. Finding. Oh, I already did that. Finding Tywin's army. We're here now. Battle of the Green Fork. After the Stone Crows kill one of the Moon Brothers, Shaga and Khan refuse to pay the blood money demand by Ulf, son of Olmar. So yeah, the same thing that happens in the show, right? The army's quartermaster, Lord Leo Lefford, who has had to supply Tyrion's 300 clansmen, uses the opportunity to quip that he hopes the clansmen are braver than Tyrion, or else they have wasted good steel. That's a mean Leo Lefford, just throwing shade at Tyrion. Tyrion assures him that the arms and armor will be put to good use. Sir Kevin, who Tyrion knows is giving the voice of Lord Tywin's thoughts, yeah, because Kevin talks for Tywin. He's like an extension of his body. Takes the opportunity to inform Tyrion that he and his clansmen will fight on the vanguard since they seem so ferocious. Tyrion stresses the ferocity of the clansmen by recounting their recent lethal fight over a sausage, which again got brought up in the show. So yeah, they all awake. So there's one more like night, but it starts in the middle of the night because the Stark forces led by Bolton march in the middle of the night, leaving their men all tired. Because Bolton, I'm pretty sure, just wants to get his men killed. They all awake to find the Stark host is only a mile away, and they get ready for the battle. So before I actually get into the battle, I'm skipping over a lot of Tyrion stuff, of course, because we're here talking about Shaga. But if you're wondering, this is when Tyrion meets Shay, and Shay like kisses him goodbye and all this stuff and says he looks fearsome even though he doesn't. Yeah, all that stuff is happening. It's just not part of this. Okay. So now wielding 2 steel battle axes, right? And wearing a layer of mail and leather. Yeah, he's all armed and armored with 2 giant axes, one in each hand. Shaga fights in the Battle of the Green Fork against the Northmen under Lord Roose Bolton. When Tyrion's clansmen reach the Green Fork, Tyrion commands them to keep themselves between the enemy and the river. Then the clansmen raise the battle cry, half bad, half bad. After the battle, which they win, Tyrion finds the remnants of his clansmen, of whom are perhaps half. Yeah, he lost a lot of them, including Ulf and Khan. And Khan was slain by a spear thrust during the battle, and Tyrion finds Shaga cradling his friend's head by a tree after the fighting. Now I'm going to stop and talk about this really quick. I love the humanization that he gives Shaga here, that George does, because they're savages, right? And that's what everyone's calling them. But you see him mourn his friend like anybody would. You know, he's not cold-hearted. Khan was his friend, and he's holding his head and crying after this battle. And even if we go back to like what Gunther says when they take up Tyrion's offer, he doesn't do it for the gold. He doesn't do it for, he's like, this would feed our children and our sick. Like, these guys have families. Like, they might be savages, but they're not. They're they're good people. They're just a life that they're living, and I kind of really like that that added humanization of like they're not just one-note barbarians, right? They're not just bandit NPCs you run into in Skyrim, and they don't have names. These guys have names and families and friends and people they love, and I just want to stop to say that I love that detail. Moving on. In King's Landing. Yeah, it keeps going here in the books. We still got quite a lot. It's going to be a long video. Tyrion tells Tywin that the clansmen fought well. Tyrion asks if that surprised him and that if they were supposed to be butchered. So Tywin admits that he expected the left to collapse, hoping that Robb Stark would press into the breach where they might capture him. Yeah, Tywin kind of counted on Tyrion's mountain clansmen to fail, but they didn't. Tyrion demands to know why he was not informed, and his father declares that a feigned route is not always convincing, and that he is not in the habit of trusting men who could sort with savages and sellswords. He's like, because I don't friggin' trust you to give you my plan, Tyrion. You were supposed to get your butts kicked. But you didn't. But also keep in mind the northern forces were a lot smaller because they thought they were going to run into Robb's forces. But really, Robb took the majority of his men somewhere else and set Bolton men this way. So yeah, they're over doing river run stuff, battle the camps and so on and so forth, right? Whispering Wood, that went too far. Okay, Shaga accompanies Tyrion to King's Landing as a guard for the acting hand of the king, who is Tyrion. So Tyrion gets named as acting hand of the king by Tywin and is sent to King's Landing. And Shaga is one of the clansmen who follows him, right? So one of the afternoons, right, later on in this, Tyrion finds Timett dicing in the barracks, which I'm assuming is just playing dice, and tells him to meet him in the Solar at midnight. He feasts with the Vale clansmen, including the Stone Crows and the Moon Brothers that night, shunning the wine for once. Yeah, he's not drinking any of the wine because he's got something he's going to be doing right after this. So during the feast, he asks Shaga, who's with them, what moon is out? And Shaga frowns and says, black, I think, which is in the West, they call that a traitor's moon. It's like a little foreshadow for what they're doing later that night. He tells Shaga not to drink too much, not to get too drunk, and to keep his axe sharp, which Shaga replies, a stone crow's axe is always sharp, and Shaga's axes are sharpest of them all. Once I cut off a man's head, and he didn't know it until he tried to brush his hair, and then it fell off. To that, Tyrion asks if that's why he never brushes his own hair. Are you afraid of your head falling off, Shaga? Shaga and the rest of the Stone Crows laugh loudly at that. I kind of got a sore throat, so doing Shaga voice kind of gets to me. Is my voice, am I doing a good enough impression? Shout out to what all my impressions always end up sounding like, because I always listen to David Reed's The Song of Ice and Fire. So shout out to David Reed's The Song of Ice and Fire. All right. Giving Pycelle a shave, Shaga uses his axe and kicks. So he destroys his door. He walks up to Pycelle's door, cuts it down and kicks it down to destroy the door of Pycelle's chambers. Tyrion tells the girl who's in bed with Pycelle that no one wants her. She's like, no, you can calm down. And then Shaga says, Shaga wants this woman. And Timett says he wants every woman. And Shaga replies, yeah, Shaga will give her a strong child. He's like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Lots are wrong with that, Shaga. It's called consent. We'll learn about it. Tyrion has Timett pull the naked girl out of bed and drag her, or, walk her to the hall. I think it's more dragging. Shaga watches mournfully like, I wanted that girl. Nope, too bad, Shaga. Learn about consent. Tyrion pulls the blanket off the naked maester, who protests. Tyrion tells him that he tricked him with that little letter game. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole letter game, but you guys know it, right? Like, Tyrion asks or sends out information to multiple people and talks to multiple different people, but he gives them all different information, and then he wants to see which information gets back to the queen so he knows who he can trust and who he can't. And when the queen is like, hey, you're setting Marcel at the door, and he's like, oh, Pycelle then. Got it. And yeah, the letter game, right? I did explain it all, but yeah. Pycelle tries to blame Varys and Littlefinger. Tyrion was like, no, I gave them different information. Tyrion instructs Shagga to cut off Pycelle's manhood and feed it to the goats. Speaking Shagga's language, Shagga lifts his huge axe and he says, there are no goats, half man. And Tyrion tells him to make do. Make do. Shagga first takes part of Pycelle's beard with his axe as Pycelle wets the bed. Oh, geez. Pycelle tells Tyrion that he always has been loyal to House Lannister, telling them that he opened the gates for his father during the sack of King's Landing. Wow. Tyrion is shocked by this and then asks how many has he betrayed? How many men have you betrayed? Aerys, Eddard Stark, himself, Tyrion, King Robert, Jon Arryn, Prince Rhaegar. Like, do you trade everybody? Pycelle claims that they're all just enemies of Lannister, right? So then Shagga cuts Pycelle, like actually cuts him during another shave session, right? And growling, he says, Dolf fathered warriors, not barbers. It's like, hey, dude, you cut him. He's like, what? I'm using an axe here. It's not exactly buzzers, you know? Like, I'm not just buzzing it off. Like, it's not easy to cut somebody's hair with a giant axe. Thanks to Shagga's axe making closer and closer shaves and actually cutting his neck, Tyrion finally gets him to confess that he had a hand in the death of Jon Arryn because he knows that Cersei, or he thought that Cersei wanted Jon dead. Disgusted, Tyrion orders Pycelle to be thrown in one of the black cells. All right, guys, we got 2 more slides. We got 1 more story slide, and then the differences. We're getting there. All right. Battle of the Blackwater. During the riot of King's Landing, Tyrion sends Shagga to protect Shae in the manse near the Iron Gate. Yeah, so Shagga is protecting Shae during the riots. Before the Battle of the Blackwater, Tyrion sends the expert woodsman and Vale mountain clansmen, including Shagga, to the Kingswood in preparation for Stannis' imminent arrival. Thank you. There they prey on Stannis' baggage train and harry his flanks. Yeah, they just mess with him. Leading Stannis' men to burn part of the Kingswood to smoke out the clansmen. Sansa Stark can actually see the fire and smoke from the Red Keep. Yeah, it must be a big fire. They are so effective at killing Stannis' scouts and outriders that he remains blind to the Lannister and Tyrell force that is coming up from the Kingswood. Yeah, they, not even knowing that it's part of a plan, it's not part of a plan. They just accidentally, since the clansmen take out enough scouts, that's actually why Tywin and the Tyrells can sneak up on Stannis during the Battle of Blackwater, which I find really funny. It was like, oops. They did a great job. So after the Battle of the Blackwater, Shagga and his clansmen remain in the Kingswood, preparing to stay in that forest instead of returning all the way back to the Mountains of the Moon. Yeah, they're just hanging out in the Kingswood now. Watch out. So Tyrion so now we're jumping ahead. So when Tyrion is accused of murdering Joffrey Baratheon after the king dies at his wedding feast, during the trial, Shae claims that Tyrion had threatened to give her to Shagga in Timett before the Battle of the Green Fork, which isn't true. Later, while attempting to join the Second Sons, Tyrion mentioned Shagga and Timett as examples of men who have benefited from his generosity. Yeah, but they never got the entirety of the Vale from you. You didn't pay it out completely. They did benefit, right? I mean, you got those axes, I guess. There you guys go. That's the entire story. So let's get to the differences. So yeah, at first they are subtle. They start off close enough, but subtle. So Gorm who is in charge, or Gunther is in charge of the group that approaches Tyrion and Bronn in the books, but they give his lines to Shagga, and it still works, right? It's just kind of condensing one person. though Tyrion's line is slightly different, which I brought up. His age of 80 line is slightly different. Also, Shaga doesn't break into the meeting with Tywin at the camp. And then it's at the camp and not at the end of the crossroads. And he doesn't bust in. He walks in with Tyrion, right? Well, like I said, small choice changes. We also don't get to see the battle at the Green Fork because Tyrion gets knocked out in the show. So we don't get to see the very sad and humanizing moment of Shagga holding his dead friend, right? So that's changing. And then the biggest, of course, is that Shagga doesn't actually follow Tyrion to King's Landing. And that drastically changes the Pycelle scene. So in the show, it's some random clansman, right? So that scene does happen, and there's still the whole feed his manhood to the goats, and then the clansman goes, "Oh, no goats," and he goes, "Make do." It's just a random clansman with an axe in the show, right? It's not actually Shaga. So, like I said, it starts out very close, except Shaga is the leader of the Stone Crows. I don't know why I'm saying Gorm. It's Gunther, son of Gurm. I don't know why I'm saying Gorm. But yeah, they kind of just forgot about Gunther. They didn't use Gunther. They combined them. So that's it. To break down the differences, they combined a lot of mountain clansmen into just Shaga. And then they only used him for those 2 episodes. I'm assuming they didn't want to pay the actor or they wanted a different one or whatever. And they just left him in season 1. And then when they needed him for the scene with Pycelle in season 2, they just got somebody else to do it. And they never give that character a name as far as I know. So, yeah, there you guys go. That's Shaga. Let's end this before it gets 40 minutes. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far. And, yeah, that's it. Sorry about all the talk about chopping out manhoods. All right. Peace.